Commander Zixtella stared at the holographic display with all four of her eyes, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking nervously as she processed the data. The automated probe had just transmitted its final report from the third planet of what the locals called the Sol System, and the readings were beyond comprehension. "This can't be correct," she muttered in her native Vorthic, her translator immediately converting the words for her mixed-species crew. "Run the analysis again." Her science officer, a slug-like molluscarian named Gleet, oozed closer to the console. "Commander, I've run it 17 times. The readings are consistent. This planet, it's a Class-14 Deathworld." The bridge fell silent. Even the normally chattering Pixian communications officer stopped her constant stream of updates. Class-14 was theoretical a classification so extreme that most xenobiologists believed such worlds couldn't support complex life. "Remind me of the parameters," Zixtella commanded. Though she knew them by heart, Gleet's voice took on the monotone of someone reciting from memory. Class-14 Deathworld. Gravity exceeding 1.2 standard units. Atmospheric pressure variations capable of generating wind speeds over 200 standard units per hour. Temperature fluctuations ranging from cellular freezing to protein denaturing extremes, and he paused, checking his readings again. Double quotes, ... over 70% of the surface covered in a corrosive liquid capable of dissolving most known materials. "And yet," Zixtella said slowly, "our probe detected not just life, but an entire civilization." The implications were staggering. According to Galactic Council records, any species that evolved on a world above Class 8 would be too primitive and savage to achieve spaceflight. The idea that intelligent life could emerge from a Class-14 hellscape was absurd. "Commander," the communications officer chirped excitedly, "I'm receiving transmissions from the planet. Multiple frequencies, complex modulated signals. These aren't random, they're organized, purposeful." Put them through the universal translator. The bridge filled with a cacophony of sounds, music, voices speaking in dozens of different languages, data streams, and what appeared to be entertainment broadcasts. One transmission caught Zixtella's attention, a news report describing something called a hurricane. ... Winds reaching 150 miles per hour as Hurricane Delta approaches the Gulf Coast. Residents are advised to secure loose objects and ensure emergency supplies. ... Gleet's entire body quivered. "Commander, they're describing a Class 12 atmospheric disturbance as if it's routine." Another transmission followed. ... Temperatures dropping to minus 40 degrees as the polar vortex moves south. Scientists predict this could be one of the coldest winters on record. ... They're discussing temperature variations that would flash freeze. "Molluscarian blood," Gleet whispered in horror. But it was the third transmission that truly shocked them. Double quotes. ... Rescue teams have successfully extracted all 15 miners from the collapsed tunnel 2 miles underground. The miners survived for 6 days, without surface contact by rationing their emergency supplies and melting ice for water. ... They willingly descend into the planet's crust, Zixtella breath, for occupation. The communications officer had gone pale, her feathers ruffling anxiously. "Commander, there's more. I'm detecting orbital installations, artificial satellites, space stations. They've achieved spaceflight despite living on a world that should have killed them in their pre-technological phase." Zixtella activated the ship's long-range sensors and focused them on the third planet. The images that appeared defied everything she knew about xenobiology. Massive structures dotted the landscape cities that housed millions of beings. Vast agricultural areas somehow carved from the deadly wilderness. And most impossibly, recreational areas where the inhabitants appeared to be enjoying themselves in conditions that would constitute torture for any civilized species. "Look at this," she said, highlighting a section of the planet's surface. "They're intentionally exposing themselves to the corrosive liquid. In groups. For pleasure." Her crew gathered around the display, watching in fascination and horror as humans swam in Earth's oceans. surfed its waves, and dove beneath its surface. "Commander," Gleet said shakily, "what do we call a species that not only survives on a Class-14 Deathworld, but thrives there? What classification system could possibly?" The answer came from an unexpected source. The ship's AI, which had been quietly analyzing the transmissions, spoke in its neutral tone, based on observed behavioral patterns and environmental adaptation. "I suggest a new classification. Apex Survival Species, Class Omega." "Class Omega?" Zixtala asked. "A species so adapted to extreme survival conditions that what other civilizations consider uninhabitable death worlds, they consider home. Their evolutionary pressure was so intense that they developed not just intelligence, but the psychological fortitude to find joy in conditions that would break the minds of lesser species." A new transmission crackled through. Double quotes ... Everest expedition successful, despite temperatures of -40 and oxygen levels insufficient for normal breathing. The team celebrated at the summit before beginning their descent. "They climb mountains," the communications officer whispered, "voluntarily, to the point where their atmosphere becomes too thin to breathe." Zixtala made a decision that would echo through galactic council chambers for generations. "Set course for the nearest council station." "Emergency priority, Commander?" Gleet asked. "We need to inform the council immediately. We've just discovered a species that makes their home on a world so deadly it breaks our classification system. When they reach the stars in force, and every species in the galaxy needs to know what we're dealing with." She paused, watching another transmission showing humans skiing down mountains, racing across deserts, and diving from cliffs into the deadly ocean below. "We found the universe's ultimate survivors, and they call their Deathworld ... home." The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would forever change how the galaxy viewed the small blue planet and its impossible inhabitants. Behind them, Earth continued its rotation, its humans blissfully unaware that they had just been classified as the most terrifying species in known space, not because of their weapons or technology, but because they had learned to dance with death and call it living.